85 nights ago, Creighton and Villanova tipped off the Big East season. That night, the Blue Jays beat the Wildcats by 20. But still the national perception was, we'll see about the Blue Jays' big picture. We all should have known then. 85 nights later, Creighton, Nova for a title later tonight inside the world's most famous arena. That is how we welcome you to Big East Shootaround After Dark. I'm John Fanta, alter ego Dale. Might come out later. This is Nick Pa. This is Kyron Cartwright. What a semifinal Friday night inside MSG.
It was awesome in here. We knew it would be. You know, we were talking about it all week. If the right teams advanced and we were looking ahead, we knew it would be rocking in here. It was rocking in here. Tonight was a blast.
Definitely. You know, I'm just more excited for tomorrow.
Yeah.
The matchups have been really good. The coaching has been really good. The fans have been spectacular.
Okay, let's talk about the opener tonight.
Yep.
You have a Providence team that commanded Creighton by 21 13 nights ago. So how would the rematch look? Well, the rematch looked like this. Creighton putting a beat down on the Friars, 85-58 when it was all said and done. A 31-2 run by the Jays produces this win. Nick Ba, your reaction to this performance by this Creighton team?
Somehow, this team, even after the Ryan Nembhard injury, it feels like they're peaking right now, which you felt like after the Nembhard injury that, if anything, they were maybe going to go in the opposite direction. Talking about the Big East Freshman of the Year, was top 5 in the league in minutes, and for whatever reason, this team feels like they are really clicking on all cylinders. And to me, it all starts, I know we're showing offensive highlights here, but to me, it all starts on the defensive end. This team is the best half-court defense in the Big East Conference because they have a problem in the middle of the lane that you have to solve, and his name is Ryan Kalkbrenner. They are just planting him in the middle of the lane. They are funneling everything to him. They're pressing out to the three-point line on shooters. They're not stepping off the three-point line, and they're saying good luck finishing over Kalkbrenner. And Providence just couldn't do that, and it got Creighton out in transition. It got Creighton feeling confident, but it was an impressive surgical performance from the Blue Jays.
Definitely. The Blue Jays got easy basket every time down the floor. They moved the ball really well. They got all the open looks, but they took their time, though. Providence is a real good transitional team, but the Jays kind of slowed them down, took them out of it a bit, and it's kind of deflating when you're trying to play hard defense, you're trying to pick up with a lot of intensity, and then you give up a backdoor layup. It's just deflating for the whole team, and the Jays made those plays tonight consistently, and then the score just piled up.
How about Arthur Kaluma? 17 points in this game. He was a key cog down the stretch in the first half, scored 10 points there late. And it feels like Arthur Kaluma has just clicked that switch. Whatever it is for a freshman, that switch is as on as it's ever been.
Two things with Kaluma to think about. It felt like in early to mid-January, things were starting to go right. Then he hurt his knee, and he missed 4 games. And all that progress kind of got rendered to be nothing. He started back, and now it feels like he's ramping back up. The other thing is what you said right before we turn on the cameras. As a player, when you know you're not coming out of the game, you play with a ton more confidence. You're willing to take more chances. You're willing to hit a driving seam that you may not if you know you could come out. You're willing to let a 3 rip if you know you're not coming out. I thought one of the most telling plays today, he jumped an outlet pass, didn't take a dribble, shot a 3, and made it. Like, you are drenched in confidence when that is happening. So I think it's a perfect storm of a freshman finally starting to hit his stride, combined with the fact that because of the injuries, because of how short Creighton's bench is, he is playing with a ton of confidence because he knows he's not coming out of the game.
Well, he's made some of those magical plays. You know, when you think of Creighton, obviously earlier in the season, you think of Nembhard, you think of all the Ryans together. But here in the Garden, he's had some magical moments. You know, you talked about the big-time 3. You know, that takes a lot of guts, a lot of confidence to knock that down. And the other day, he had a highlight, spectacular dunk. And, you know, you don't see a bunch of home run plays with him, but they're slowly building up, and he's making a lot more because he's playing so confidently.
Yeah.
What a big-time performance by the Blue Jays, and one of their leaders, Alex O'Connell, had one of the more powerful conversations that we have had here this week at the Garden. Here that is, as well as Coach McDermott.
Coach, what are you most proud of after that performance?
Probably our defensive effort, and especially the start of the second half. We talked at halftime about they're a championship team. We're not going to break their will. They're going to have fight left in them, and our pace needs to be the best it's been. Our defensive connectivity has to be top notch to start the half to try to create some more separation. And those first 6 or 7 possessions, the back-to-back shot clock violations, that was next level defense. And that's how you win away from your home floor. You got to guard people, and this guy knows that better than most.
No, on a big stage, I think it's important that when you do have a halftime lead, you do things can happen. If you don't build on it, they feel better. And your kids really just shut them down. Before I said on Fox, I'll tell you what gives them a chance. The defense vastly improved. These kids all bought into that and getting better at it. And the other thing that you appear to do, it's not easy, but you can get buckets. Not a lot of folks can just get buckets. Right. And you've built an awful lot of your career on getting buckets. I think that creates confidence more than the other single thing.
Yeah, and we, since we've lost Nemhart, we've become a little bit more inside out. And, the threat of the high-low and trying to get him easy touches around the rim or, him roll into the rim after a ball screen, that creates some space for our shooters. It creates space for the three-point shots. It creates space to attack those closeouts. And we were able to get into the paint, finish some stuff at the rim tonight, which was really good.
The defense, to me, especially early in the game, just couldn't score at the rim. Guys did an excellent job. You were chasing Reeves for most of the night. But what's it like, Alex, knowing when you got Kalkbrenner back there, where the whole plan is kind of funnel it to him and good luck scoring over that dude?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of our defensive plan. I mean, he's the defensive player of the year for a reason. I mean, the dude blocks shots, he alters shots, and it is part of our plan. Part of our defensive plan is let him go block the shot, and then as a guard or a forward, your job is to go get his man and block him out and help him out the way he helps us out. So, I can't speak it highly enough of Ryan Kalkbrenner and what he's done for our team this year. I mean, especially his progression from last year to this year, it's been amazing. And
when we think of confidence in basketball, we usually think offense. Do you guys have a ton of confidence defensively right now?
I think we do, and I think our guys feel like if we got to win with defense, we'll win with defense. And I've heard them speaking coaches' language a little bit more the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, hey, it's okay if we don't score. Let's get a stop. Let's try to have our defense turn something easy into offense. So I think they're starting to get it, which is good. Yeah. And they've really gotten intelligent about, like, hey, if you're beat, don't foul the guy.
Exactly.
Let him go into the big guy, and we'll take our chances in there. So it's been an awesome group to coach, and this will be our 4th time in the championship game. We haven't kicked that door down yet, but we're certainly grateful for the opportunity, and we'll let it fly tomorrow night and see what happens.
As a leader for this team, what will be the messaging that you pass along to the rest of your locker room over the next 24 hours?
Yeah, I know. I relayed this message right after the game. I told them, guys, we were in the same position last year, super hype in the locker room after we had beat UConn, and the next day we just came out flat. And I just wanted to make sure that they all knew that if we just continue to play like we played today, then, we'll have a real good opportunity at winning this whole thing. And I just want them to know that we can do it. We're capable of it, too.
No doubt.
You sure are, Alex O'Connell. We will see you on Saturday night
sir.
at Madison Square Garden. How's that sound?
Feels good. Sounds good, too. All right, y'all.
We welcome you back to the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. Big East shoot-around on our SoFi set. Nick Bach, Kyron Cartwright, John Fancy here with you. So who will meet the Creighton Blue Jays? It's a program that now since 2015 has played in 6 Big East tournament semifinals. They've won all 6 of those. That's Villanova 63, UConn 60. Kyron, what did it take for Villanova to win this game?
It just took a lot of determination, a lot of hustle. I think the hustle plays were the most important. Down the stretch, Brandon Slater making that great recovery to make that block. That might have been the play of the game. And I also thought an underrated play of the game was when UConn went in, the shot went up, Villanova shot went up, ball bounced around 3 or 4 players. Jermaine Samuels just went in there like, I want to win this game. I'm going to get this ball. And he came down with it. Obviously, UConn had to foul again, and then the free throws iced the game.
Yeah, you knew when you play UConn, you know what you're in for. You're in for a junkyard dog fight, and you're going to have to match their physicality and match the competitiveness, and Villanova did that. And a credit to Jermaine Samuels, because Eric Dixon didn't play a lot, and Jermaine Samuels was having to wrestle Adama Sanogo a little bit and try and root him out for post position. And then when Sanogo would get the ball, he did a nice job walling up and trying to make him finish over him. And the reality is Sanogo didn't finish enough of those shots. I mean, ultimately, that was where their advantage lied, was inside, especially with Dixon off the floor. And Sanogo wasn't able to get enough of those shots to go down. And so I think you really got to tip your cap to Samuels for fighting. And he just kind of exemplifies what you're talking about, where Nova brought that fight. The other thing, too, is, you know, so often we think about points and that equating to impact. Colin Gillespie had 10 assists and at one point 0 turnovers heading into like the final 4 minutes, and he turned one over at the end, but he finishes with 10 assists, 1 turnover.
And what's he thinking about right now?
He's the one. He's like, man, why did I turn that ball over? You know. So I also think you can't underestimate that too. Just his presence on the floor, the fact that you have a guy that is not turning it over. He is making all the right decisions. And I tweeted this during the game, and I think you guys agree. Villanova's body language is just excellent.
Yes.
And it's so noticeable when you're at the games, the way they interact with each other, the way they talk to each other, the way they react to the other team making a good play. They just are so steady.
Yes. You know those old morals commercials, like the paid programming of values?
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, kid takes money from someone, but other grandpa says, hey, give them the money back. Villanova's like one big morals commercial for 2 hours.
Right.
It's you watch them warm up, and then you watch them play a game, and you're like, this can't be actually real. Well, folks, it is.
Yeah, they're almost like it's almost like they're machines. You know, Chris Mack had the joke that if you peeled Jalen Brunson's face off, there'd be wires under there, like he was the Terminator or something like that. But that's kind of how they all are, and to me, that's the sign of a culture where everybody comes into Villanova and they all kind of take on that identity. All of them, Samuel, Slater, Gillespie, Eric Dixon, they all have that same mature approach to the game that I think makes a difference. I don't know what you think. Like when guys are negative reacting to things, there's nothing wrong with a little conflict on the floor with your teammate, but it's got to be healthy conflict. They'll argue and they'll talk things out. I should have switched that, or no, you got to tell me when he's cutting or whatever. But it's always done in a very mature way. And I think that's one of the more underrated things about how they win games is just, man, they are super steady with it.
Well, I think this team is really selfless. And I think that's what shows, because whenever a player makes a bad play, if you ever actually notice, all 4 players, if a player turns the ball over, you know, they picked up a mad foul maybe, all 4 players will run up to that guy, they'll shake his hand, and they'll encourage each other, okay, let's get this next stop. And it carries on through other aspects of the game. You know, people say Colin Gillespie, he's probably captain, he's the leader of this team, but how selfless of him to, I'm not going to force any of these shots, I'm going to make the plays for you guys because that's the right thing to do.
Right.
How important is that for that team and just every day?
Yeah. Yeah, they're all, I mean, even offensively, how many times, there's so many times where I think Justin Moore could shoot, but it's an extra pass. Caleb Daniels could shoot. Instead, he shot fakes, gets a piece of the paint. He could shoot it. What does he do? He kicks it to Gillette. Like there's an unselfish mantra to them where they are just they're 5 as 1, and I know that feels cliche, but they're one heartbeat, one soul, one mission when they're on the floor, and that's what allows them to were they down 17 to St. John's?
Right.
And they never ever wavered.
Yep.
And then even tonight, the Garden was rocking in here. You had the UConn chants going, and steady as they can be. I think it starts with Gillespie, but it really starts with Jay Wright, because that's how all the teams you played against, like that's how they all are. Archie Diacono to Jalen Brunson to Bridges to all those guys, Josh Hart, that's how they are.
Trade a good shot for a great shot.
Yep.
And they do it time and again. Speaking of Jay Wright, we heard from him earlier, as well as Brandon Slater breaking down one of the all-time defensive plays in Big East tournament history. The Villanova Wildcats are heading to the Big East championship game, and we are joined by Brandon Slater, who tonight came up with one of the game's defining plays, an incredible block in the second half. as the Cats beat UConn. Brandon, we're going to start right there. Take us through you flying high at the Garden, coming up with that block.
Oh, man. Honestly, are we watching it right now?
Yes, we are.
So I see everybody scrambling right now, and I felt like as soon as I turned around, I seen Tyrese Martin, a great athlete, go up, and I just thought, hey, I got to challenge him up there too. And then it just so happened I got lucky and I got that block.
Jay, what was coaching this game like, and just describe to us what it's like knowing you come out with a win and can play for a title?
Yeah, I never want to forget these feelings. You know, Friday night, Madison Square Garden, semifinals, Villanova, UConn, Billy Joel's playing. It's like it's a basketball junkie's dream, right? It's just you just got to pinch yourself every once in a while out there and say, like, I'm so blessed to be a part of this. And that game was incredible, man. There's two really good teams. That Connecticut team is going to make a run in the NCAA tournament. That's a really good team.
You know, when you play in a big game, and tonight UConn's on the other side of that, and this is just the Big East tournament. We're not in the NCAA tournament yet. What was playing in this game like?
Oh, man, this game was electric. You got to give credit to that UConn team. They're a very talented, very well-coached team, and they're going to be a great team in the NCAA tournament. And then we just got guys that we felt like if we stick together, hey, sometimes good things can happen.
Talk about magical moments. You've been a part of so many magical moments in the Big East. What do you think is going to take tomorrow, just from your standpoint, your energy, your mindset? What is that going to be like?
These guys, you know, Creighton has always been a great offensive team. You know, you always know when you play them, you're going to have to guard multiple actions, a lot of really skilled players. And this year, I think they might be a better defensive team than they are offensive. And they're a good offensive team. We're going to have to score against these guys. They're hard to score on. And you always have to defend them, but this year you're going to have to put points up against them.
How much as a hooper growing up did you dream of walking into Madison Square Garden and knowing that you're 40 minutes away from a title?
This means the world to me. Just playing basketball here at the Garden, man, not a lot of people can say that. So I'm very blessed, and I'm very, very proud to be here right now.
Brandon Slater, we'll see you tomorrow night.
Thank you guys so much.
Welcome back to Madison Square Garden, everybody. And as we begin to have final thoughts on this semifinal Friday night, a thought from here. The Villanova Wildcats are the powerhouse of the Big East Conference and have become a blue blood in college basketball. Many say that they are annoying to play, frustrating to play. Well, they are for an opponent because all they seem to do is find ways to win. Since 2015, 6 trips to the Big East Championship game. They have won 4 of those. They'll go for a 5th on Saturday night. We talk about the Wildcats quite a bit when it comes to national powers. We need to talk more nationally about the Creighton Blue Jays because Greg McDermott brought this Creighton program into the Big East in the 2013-14 season. And Saturday night inside Madison Square Garden will mark their 4th Big East Championship game appearance. 50%. In this league, that is pretty good. Now, they have still not climbed the mountaintop and won that Big East Championship, but Nick Boss said it. This team is peaking at the right time. And sometimes when you're young, you don't know any better. And this Blue Jays team has come into form. They'll have to beat the best to be the best in this league. But one thing is for certain. Saturday night's championship game deserves major respect, and it will get that in New York City and in the country.
First of all, that was very well said. Yeah, to piggyback off of that, this tomorrow, if Creighton were to win, it's not the end of the season, but we're in Big East mode, so it's the end of the Big East season. It would be quite the explanation point on what is, in my opinion, the best coaching season of Greg McDermott's illustrious career. To lose his entire starting 5, and he had the saying, nowadays in college basketball, you can build through free agency transfers, or you can build through the draft. And he chose to build through the draft. He brings in a top 10 recruiting class, but it's a bunch of young guys. And for him to get this group to grow and improve, if you were to watch this team play in November and then watch what they did to Providence today, it looks like a completely different team. And you bring up this is his 4th trip to the Big East championship, and he's done it with 4 different teams, 4 different rosters. And he's now doing it a completely different way. When you think of Creighton basketball, you think of let it fly, you think of threes, you think of fast pace, you think of a team that just wants to outscore you. Well, this team does it with their defense, and this team does it with their front line and Hawkins and Kalkbrenner. So you go right across the board, and it has just been an unbelievably impressive coaching performance by a guy that I already think the world of as a coach. And if he can knock down this Villanova team and cut down nets here, pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
I think it's going to be very historic. You know, when you think about March, they're defying the norm. You think about the teams that usually make the great runs. They have veteran teams, usually a lot of seniors, guys that have been here a long time. But they're quite the opposite.
Yep.
But they're playing like they're the most veteran team in the tournament. How could that be? And you got to get the guys bought in. They look like they're all on one page, and their only goal is to win. There's no egos. Nobody's trying to be the hero, just togetherness. And I think that's something very important to have here in March.
Let's take one last look at the bracket. Here's how we've gotten to this point, and you see it'll be 2v for Villanova and Creighton for all the marbles. It'll be tomorrow night, later tonight actually, on Fox, 6 Eastern time. We will get you started. A championship game edition of Shoot-Around preview right at 5:30 Eastern time. Kyron will be back. Coach Calhoun will be back. Maybe we'll have some special guests as well. Nick Ba, you are on to the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference Championship game, which should be a great one. Battle of Jersey, more Northeast flavor. St. Peter's and Monmouth. Shout out to Shaheen Holloway. I do want to get your final thought here on the week and a prediction from you for later tonight.
Well, first of all, on the week, we talked about this yesterday. It was so we knew it was going to be fun to have the fans back in here, and it's just been even better. And one of the things that's, I don't know if this is popular to say, but I don't sit in the stands in a lot of games. You know, if I go to a game, I'm sitting courtside. I got a headset on. I'm calling the game, and it's been a fun experience to sit in the stands and hear the crowd and hear the chatter and really hear the roars in a different way. So, I think that's the first thing, and then just every game. It seems like you outside of maybe 2 games, every single game when that under 4 media timeout in the second half, that buzzer hits, it's a 1-possession game, and it's a good one. And it speaks to the depth of this conference and the balance in this conference. And so it's been a blast, and it's going to be fun to see what happens tomorrow. Because again, 2 different games in Villanova and Creighton beat Villanova badly, beat them by 20 in Omaha, and then in Philly, returned the favor. Villanova hammered the Blue Jays, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here in the rubber match. But it's been a fun week. It'll be a fun championship Saturday.
The games are going so well. I don't think I have a short shot prediction. It's just how Creighton's been playing, how Nova's been playing. It's hard for me to pick one over the other, but the one thing that I do know is tomorrow, 6:30, here in Madison Square Garden, is the best ticket in town. And if you're not here, I'm really going to be disappointed for you because you're missing the best thing around.
It's a ticket that, for you didn't have to pay for in 2018. You were right here on the floor.
Yeah, being here that day, I remember walking from the freight elevator. When I took the floor, I kind of had to pause for a moment because, just looking around, it was my first time being in that moment, seeing all the black and white shirts, the people supporting you. It was just surreal.
And later tonight, we prepare for a sea of blue, both for Villanova and for Creighton. We will get you started later tonight, 5:30 Eastern time, with Shoot-Around pregame presented by SoFi, and then the Fox coverage takes over at 6 o'clock. For Kyron Cartwright, for Nick Ba, thanks all week, partner. I'm John Fanta. It's Creighton. It's Nova. It was the conference opener on December the 17th, and it will be the conference closer later tonight.